All right. I am here with Bob Kopp. Hey, Bob.
Hi, Jennifer.
How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Good. So you're with eXp out of
Yep,
Illinois,
yep.
right? Okay. I
hmm
wanted to talk to you a little bit about your story and your journey. How long have
Yeah,
you been at eXp?
yeah. I've been at eXp actually this month. I started November 1st was my anniversary date. I've been here 5 years. I started November
Wow.
of 2016.
So that was like kind of at the beginning of it, huh?
Yeah, well, relatively, yeah. I think at the time there were 11, 10, 11, maybe. I think I was agent number 12 in Illinois.
That's
So, and
crazy.
we're a little over 1,000 in Illinois now, tons of room to grow.
Yeah.
Probably, I know less than 2,000. I think there was somewhere 1,850 agents maybe in the
And
company at the
now
time.
there's like over 65,000. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're pushing 70 at this point. So,
Well,
yeah.
give us a little bit of backstory on you. How long have you been in real estate? How many brokerages have you been with? And then
Yeah.
explain why you chose eXp, especially at its infancy.
Yeah. So I came to the Chicago area, moved here, 30 some years ago. I was a trader down at the Mercantile Exchange. And I did that for about 20 years. I was a floor trader for about 20 years. I worked for a
It's high
investment firm.
intensity.
It's funny because after I got into real estate and people would ask about that and they'd say, gosh, that sounds like so much pressure. And I was like, actually this is pressure. I mean,
Right.
especially when the markets were tough, like trying to get somebody's house sold was
Yeah.
pressure
Yeah.
back in
Yeah.
the day. But it was the type of thing that it was very energizing for me to be in that type of an environment. But as the trading was moving off of the floor and going to more of like a screen-based trade, not so much. I was in the pits, and it wasn't pit trading so much. My company, Morgan Stanley, was scaling back, and I survived a couple of rifts, and then in 2002. HR came to Chicago, and I didn't survive that one. So it was a great move. So I was a young kid at the time, not really sure what I wanted to do. Ended
Mhm.
up working with some firms, and ended up looking at commercial real estate, but ended up in residential real estate is how I got going in it.
Well, you can do
So
commercial too. Do you do any
yeah,
commercial?
yeah, I looked at it, and at the time, I was 45 years old at the time, and I'm like, boy, I don't, I know commercials, there's a big ramp up time.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I'm not sure I want to invest, 2 years before I cash a paycheck. And
Right. Right. Right.
so I had an
It's a
opportunity
lot
actually to,
different than residential,
oh
that's
my
for
gosh,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I had an opportunity to buy a book of business from a really well-established Remax agent in a community close to mine. Was really close to doing that. Had actually sat down with her accountant to kind of go over the paperwork and sign the contract and everything, and the agreement. And it, fortunately for me, that what he presented and what she and I have been talking about shifted. So I showed it to a Remax franchise owner in my community, and the
Hmm.
other community was about maybe 20 minutes away. And he went through it. He had done this several times, and he went over all of his agreements with me, showed me how he had bought businesses before, and he got all done. He said, I think you're making a mistake. You're going to try and everything you do is here. You go to
Yeah.
church here, your kids go to
Right.
school here, you coach soccer here. Why are you going to try and build a business 30 minutes away?
Yeah, that's pretty.
And
But that is interesting though, that real estate agent was like selling it. And I think that's something that more agents should consider doing. It's a
yeah,
missed opportunity for your 20 years of service or sometimes
right.
40 years of being an agent. You just give it up in 2 seconds.
Yeah, you're right. And on the other hand, I think it's exactly what makes eXp so attractive. As one of the first groups that came in with me at eXp was a small brokerage
Hmm.
here in Geneva, Illinois. She had 15 agents on her roster, had always been very selective about who she brought in. In fact, we were good friends because she's always like, hey, why don't you come work with us?
Yeah.
And then she ended up bringing her brokerage over to eXp. because she looked at it and she said, what, in 30 years, what do I have? I mean, what do I
Right.
have to sell
Right.
if these agents don't stick around?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
for her as a small brokerage, it actually made perfect sense.
Yeah. But for you, you're looking at buying businesses. Did you consider, because Remax is a franchise, right?
Yeah. Yeah. At the time, no, I was brand new in the business. I certainly didn't consider buying a franchise. I was at Remax for almost 7 years. The market crashed. I ended up moving my license with a small brokerage in Chicago that was representing a pretty decent sized private equity fund. And I was representing them in all the collar counties of Chicago. I would go to auctions, buy properties for them at the auctions, oversee the renovation of them, oversee the construction and the permitting and all that, and then eventually get to market them. And it was it was really like a dream client. It was the client who would say, you go buy a house, you tell me what I need to do to it to sell it. Mm-hmm. We'll do that, and then you sell it.
That sounds great.
It was a great client. Until it wasn't.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And as that market got more and more competitive, I did that from end of 08, 09 until 2015. And in that 6-year period, with, oh my gosh, Chip and Joanne and all these people going on and showing how easy this is to buy a home and flip it, everybody got,
everybody was in it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it got really competitive. Even more so was these huge private equity funds like Blackstone came into Illinois. They started buying. So it got really competitive, got really difficult. And my investor client, they had called these funds. And once they had these funds in play, they're like, you got to spend money. We got to invest that or else it's costing us money. So what started out being a lot of fun got to be really like a lot of pressure. Then it was pressure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then it was like, you got to buy more, you got to, make the numbers work and all that. And so finally I said, it's just not, you kind of
it just doesn't work
out of this.
Yeah.
So then I did look at buying something, and I was really interested in Keller. I went to family reunion that year down in New Orleans, spent some time with them, loved the model, loved the values that I saw there. I went to New Orleans, there's 15,000 agents and a lot of energy. I'd go to breakout sessions, they'd be 1,000, 1,200 agents would be in a breakout session, and it was great. And I came back. Had I been at Remax, when I got back, I would have moved my license to Keller. But I continued to chew on it, thinking, okay, is there an opportunity to buy a Keller market center? And in the interim, while I was kind of chewing on that, I got introduced to eXp. And then I started looking at this and said, man, this is really everything this is like Keller, 2.0.
Right.
And it's what I really would hope to have if I were going to own a market center. And
can you dive into that a little bit? Like, what did you see that other opportunities didn't show you? Like, what did you like? Yeah. It sounds like you weren't quite sure what was missing until you saw this opportunity, but do you know now?
Yeah. Part of it that was daunting for me in, for example, being a marketing broker. I mean, the other alternative was I was going to just open my own brokerage and bring in the people that I wanted to bring in. Having worked with realtors and, for 20 plus years, sometimes those people can be difficult to manage. And
I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
and sometimes I hear agents say something and I think, oh my gosh, if your broker heard you say that, they'd probably sign your license away today.
Right.
And
exactly.
So it's just that type of thing that I was like, gosh, do I really want that liability or that kind of exposure? And then there was the idea of, being able to build a team without having to necessarily, I have no problem. I love to pour into new agents and love to, help people solve problems and work on deals and all that, but not necessarily to build and manage a real estate team. That didn't hold as much. That part of it was almost like, well, I'm going to have to do that.
Right. More than a get to, it was like a have to. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
And here you can actually do both.
Yeah. I get to do both. So
it's
I'm
more
a mentor.
Flexible.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a mentor here in Illinois. I love mentoring new agents. I tell them up front, it's like, here's what I have to give you.
Yeah.
If you're looking for this or this, that's probably not me.
Yeah.
But these other things, I think I can really help you with. And so I've, the people that I've mentored, I enjoy being with them. I like hanging out with them. I love when they're, seeing how successful they're going to be. I don't really want to, be the person that's got to call you and make sure you're out of bed in the morning.
No.
But once you're, when you're up and you're enthused and you want to be successful, I'll give you
everything,
all the time I can possibly give you. So
right.
That part of it I really enjoyed. And, it was interesting, as you mentioned, it was early on. So one of the people I got introduced to, and it was all so early then, was Gene Frederick.
He's awesome.
Oh, Gene is just a genuinely good man. I just enjoy him. And so I would catch Gene, he'd be traveling somewhere in Texas, and I don't care where you're going. It seems like it's a 3-hour drive. So I'd catch him on the phone and we would talk. And that was one of the, like, early on, I'm like, Gene, gosh, I don't know. There's only a handful of people here. They're really not doing a lot of business. And my mindset is, I want to go to an office or build an office that's vibrant and growing. Yeah. And he said, no, that's exactly, you're coming in at the right time.
Yeah.
You're going to have the opportunity to help build that and to bring the right people in. And that really just kind of flipped my mindset about coming with this little startup that no one had ever heard about.
But you brought up something interesting about the having an office and making it vibrant. How, we don't have that, right? Like, you can have that. You can have an office and all this stuff. Right. But what is your mindset shift on that?
Yeah. So we've personally, I don't need that. Because I've always worked very independently. When I was a RE/MAX agent, I kept an office in the building, but quite frankly, it was almost more troublesome. People would stop in, they'd want to chat and have coffee and whatever. And I'm like, I'm here because I'm trying to get some work done.
Right.
And then when I moved to this small brokerage in Chicago, I actually kept an office out here in the Fox Valley area. And so I had always worked that way. I was in my office by myself. So I've never really needed that. It's, I don't mind it so much.
But you had a vision for that, which is funny. You were
well, I know a lot of people really enjoy it. So as I've talked with agents about eXp, we talked this is what it is. How we've overcome that, I think. So the small brokerage that came over early on brought her agents with her, that she owned a building in downtown Geneva, really in a premier location by the train station. And so we've got a little mastermind group of agents that are, right below us. We've got 6 agents that we get together every other week, and we just, collaborate, and we get together and share ideas. Nice. And then because we brought some agents in who have come from some more traditional brokerages, we realized that they wanted that. And so we opened that up and we said, hey, every other week or once a month now, we're going to have a broker, we'll have a meeting. Come on in. We'll spend, 30, 40 minutes, and we're going to bring something of value. We'll bring an appraiser in, and we'll talk about, what's going on in the appraisal world right now. We'll give you an opportunity to talk about new listings that you've got coming on, or problems you're struggling. And then we'll have, however long people want to hang out, you want to go hang out and have coffee and socialize. Right. And I think a lot of people have enjoyed that, and they've found some value in it. And so we're in my mind, we've got the best of both worlds.
You do. Well, I kind of think because I was the type of person, I love being in the office. I started my team because I hate being alone, all this, I like that. We always have had an office. And so that was a hard pill for me to swallow too. But what I've found is now I can work from anywhere, which is even better, because then I can be out working and meeting potential clients, or be traveling, and it expanded my brain in that way. Yeah. And and now the world is my office, right? I reached out to you to connect with you. I would never have done that I've just been confined to my own little space. So it's like, now it's like my office is like bigger and more fun. And like, I can connect with like a lot more people and find people that are like more like me, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's good for me to get out. I do a lot of work, even though I have this office here in Geneva. I'm constantly going to coffee shops because I want people to see me out in my community.
Yeah,
working,
exactly. Exactly. It's better to be, or like I go, like, we have the agreement with Regis. And so there's a couple of them that are within walking distance of me. And so I like to go to those and meet people and talk. And so like, do all the things. It's fun.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what would you tell people who are on the fence or maybe considering coming to eXp because they're like, why? Like, it seems like everybody's coming. It seems like a lot of big hitters are coming. Like, is it only good for teams? Or like, what's your kind of advice? I don't know. What do you think?
There are several reasons. First off, I acknowledge that eXp is not the perfect brokerage for every agent. And I've come across people and I'm like, boy, I'm not sure this is going to be a good fit for that person.
Right.
But honestly, that's a rare case. I truly feel, when I look at the brokerage and the model, there's nothing better out there. And I feel that that's the case for at least 90% of the agents. I really feel that way. In so many cases, I almost have a bigger fear of I'd come across an agent who's been a friend for years and they would be like, how come you never told me about eXp?
I know. I
honestly feel that way.
Yeah.
So here's a couple of them. One of the things, Gene Frederick is the one who's shared this, realtors are really good at two things. We're really good at not saving money and we're really good at not paying our taxes. That seems to be a consistency. So
why do you even owe taxes, Bob?
So the troublesome, bothersome thing. So I can't help with that piece. Get a good tax planner. If you're making $100,000 or more a year, you should have somebody helping you plan for taxes. The second piece about saving money, we don't know what's going to happen with the stock, and you can't guarantee appreciation, anything like that. However, you do have this opportunity without even thinking about it to set that money aside.
Right.
Not to mention the stock awards that we're getting and, the opportunity to be an icon agent and just to have stock handed to you. It is a forced savings, and
getting the money back that you've paid in.
Right. Exactly. 3 years ago, my daughter got married and 3.5 years ago. Yeah. So she met this guy, great guy. We love him. They met in December and they were going to get married in June. Well, no, they met in July. But in December, they decided they were going to get married in June. That's what it was.
Wow.
So you're right. It was quick. And I'm like, well, I didn't really save that money to pay for a wedding.
Right.
So, and we were like, okay, what are we going to do? We start planning to get this wedding. And then I looked and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got all this stock sitting in my brokerage account that, I sell a very small piece of it. Yeah. And I will pay for that wedding, no problem. And that's exactly what we did.
That's awesome.
It was great. And
I bought an investment property.
You bought an investment property?
Yeah. Good with our stock.
Oh, So I think that's one of the things when I talk to people about eXp, I'm talking to an agent right now and he's got this young woman on his team. She's a single mom. She's not, he really wants to help her, to prepare for her future. Yeah. And this was one way that we're looking at and say, man, she could do really well with eXp. Right. Not only is she going to get to keep more of what she's earning, but she's going to be putting money aside that, hopefully will just continue to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. If people do want to ask you questions about eXp or maybe have a referral for you in Illinois, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Always my cell phone is always the best, so you can text me or call me on the cell. My number is 630-651-3722. Feel free to call me in that number, text me in that number. Like I say, even if you got questions, if you're talking to how do you bring a small brokerage over? I'm not an expert at that, but I definitely have resources who are,
right.
And I have had some success with bringing that over. So
awesome.
Again, one of the the core values at eXp that was developed early on was, of the 9 core values, one of them is collaboration.
Yeah,
and
that's real and alive.
it is. Oh my gosh, it is. No one. When you're sitting in a meeting and there are people from all over the country, or in this case, maybe even all over the world, they want you to be successful. They're all stock owners.
Right.
They're all
exactly.
stock owners, and they want you to be successful. They're more than happy to share their knowledge, their data, their product, whatever
it is.
So that's just a huge piece of the value here.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate you reaching out to me and letting me be a part of it.
Have a good one.
All right, you too.